So Gemma Oaten's acting career already includes BBC Doctors, BBC Casualty, and the role of Rachel Breckle in Emmerdale from 2011 to 2015. She received Best Newcomer nominations for the TV Choice Awards, British Soap Awards, and Inside Soap Awards. In July 2019, Gemma did her first TEDx talk. That's impressive. The Girl in the Mirror, the Woman on the Screen. The Reality of Eating Disorders, for which she gained huge acclaim. She regularly speaks to audiences around the UK about eating disorders awareness, anti-bullying, and motivational speeches, and is a manager and patron of her parents' eating disorders charity. And that's an impressive bio, Gemma. In fact, all the bios were so long, I said to Chris, we can't actually read them all because we would be here all night. But I want to let everyone on the call know how great the panelists are. There's so much to talk about with you, Gemma, in terms of your career, your public speaking. I've seen some of the stuff you've done and it's amazing, it's inspirational. And I think that's across the board. I think anyone who listens to that would be inspired regardless of what field you work in or where you're from. But I have to come to you and talk to you about SEED and tell us a little bit about that charity, what you do and a toolkit you've produced and how that works and the impact it's had.
Thank you. It was a really, really nice introduction. Just so inspired by everybody, even though it's a short snippet so far. Everything that they're saying and sharing the stories is something that we can all do to make a massive, massive difference. Yes, I've done a lot over the years, but I kind of think that I'm making up for lost time because I lost 13 years of my life, sadly, to an eating disorder that developed at the age of 10. And nearly took my life 5 times, accumulating in a heart attack at the age of 18. My life had been pretty idyllic, and unfortunately everything changed at around the age of 10 when the bullying started and anorexia took over. And during that time, my parents were desperate to try and get me help, but sadly help wasn't available. And we were turned away from the doctor and told that I wasn't low enough in weight to be deemed to have a problem. Sadly, cut to a year and a half later, at the age of 11 and a half, I was admitted to a children's psychiatric ward and put on bed rest and told that if I didn't eat or drink within 24 hours, I'd be dead. In fact, Mum shares the story clearer than I. The doctor actually said, if you don't eat within 24 hours, you'll be dead. If you don't drink within 24 hours, you'll be dead much quicker. And that prompted my parents, who continually had to fight to get me help, which just seems so crazy because I was almost dead 5 times, but still the struggle to get the support, not just for me as a sufferer, but for them as carers, was really, really difficult. And my mum, being my wonderful Hull northern mum, was like, absolutely not on my watch, and roped Dad into setting up SEED, which stands for Support and Empathy for Eating Disorders. And Mum and Dad have been running the charity now for 21 years, and they've made a massive, massive impact on so many people's lives. I was obviously still struggling at the time that the charity was founded and going, and it wasn't until I got the role of Emmerdale that I decided that now was the time in my journey and my recovery to start sharing my story and speaking out. And it's a bit of a name drop, but I do pride myself on this one. It was actually Patrick Stewart who had become a mentor to me over my year at drama school, who said to me, Gemma, if you can't use your bit of platform for good, there's absolutely no point in this industry. And that's kind of what I've lived my life by ever since, trying to dispel the stigma of eating disorders, trying to educate. A lot of people still see it as a vanity illness, as the slimmer's disease. Newsflash, waiting for the weight to change. Is it going to change what is already there? It is a much more intricate and devastating illness than people actually realise. 1 in 5 people will lose their life as a direct result of an eating disorder or by taking their own life. And that's where we in SEED come in. I've stepped up as manager. God help me, I think mum and dad are listening to this Zoom. What were you thinking? And, you know, I'm carrying SEED forward, and I'm really excited and proud by where we're going. And we've had such a lot of support from sporting clubs and sporting foundations. And this is where I've been invited today by Debs. She has been such a pillar of strength and support in what our vision is and what we're trying to do, and the link between early intervention coming from kids being educated. And we devised the Eating Disorders Educational Toolkit, we call it, about 3 years ago. And the premise behind that was to give a resource to schools that enables the teacher how to teach responsibly, confidently about body image, eating disorders and well-being, because the key to all of this is education, prevention and early intervention. And whilst I'm not pointing fingers, sadly, that isn't coming so quick as we would all like around mental health from the powers that be, i.e. the government. But there's a lot that we can do in a hopeful and positive way as a charity sector. So the educational toolkit, to answer your question, Anwar, is just that. It's a resource to be able to prompt a conversation. And it's a conversation that needs to start happening. We've all touched on how adverse lockdown has been to many of our mental health states at the moment. And unfortunately, with eating disorders present themselves as a way that somebody can control something that they have no control over. Well, hello, COVID. You know, it's been a really, really difficult time, and we've seen a 56% increase from 2019 to 2020 in our referrals to SEED. Heartbreakingly, we've seen a 68% increase in those aged 10 to 19 years old. So the educational toolkit is something that my vision is that we get it into every school in the country. And we've had such a wonderful support from the Premier League Foundation. We have Tigers Trust, Hull City Football Club's Foundation delivering the toolkit, Middlesbrough. We're in talks with Liverpool. You know, it's been phenomenal, the support that we've had from football. And I think what's even more phenomenal for me is that football in particular is now seeing this as, it's a double-edged sword. It's sadly starting to be an issue, but they're now seeing it as something that they can help change the narrative of. So even though a lot of our stories are from pain and from really, really difficult situations that we've had to come against, I think what's amazing is that we're starting to use the dirt and to change it for good and to make something amazing grow. And like Chris said, you know, there's still a conversation and a way to go. But the fact that eating disorders are included in this conversation tonight, for me, is such a huge, huge step in the right direction. So thank you for having me.